All right, Spencer, it's 9 o'clock, 15 hours to go. But we're here for Give to the Max, and we'll cover it real quick, and maybe we can get an updated number from our crew out there.
The fundraising team, yeah. Why don't you send
it in?
Scott a message real quick?
It might have changed as we were talking to our guests that we're excited to have.
Oh, I have a hunch it did.
But we're hoping that moves up quickly, and we'd like to hit our $50,000 goal by 5 o'clock.
Ooh.
And then we can only go up from there. But right now we're over the 50% mark, which is amazing for our bear enclosure. And in order to donate, you can go on our bear.org website. If you're probably watching from there, and you can click on the banner.
Yep.
For Give to the Max.
Give to the Max. Donate now.
Yeah, and you can donate now, or you can go right just to Give to the Max in your search, and it'll pull it up, and then you can go on there and pick the North American Bear Center. For those of you who don't know, I'm Scott, and this is Spencer, and we are here promoting Give to the Max, and it's always a big time for us. It's our biggest fundraiser by far of the year.
Right.
We do have other fundraisers out there. I know that there's just many fundraisers that we do.
This one's the biggest, though, by far.
By far, and we've got a crew that usually has a lily pad picnic, and I know they did an online donation.
Yep, they did their online again.
Auction, right?
Yep.
So that's always usually a good one too. And then we have food donation stuff. We have a few different ones.
A few bear ones through the summer too. Some fun ones as well.
But this is the big one, and this is the one that's going to pay for our fencing, right?
Yeah.
What fencing's paid for. This is the one that's paid for the labor and additional materials needed, like electrical, cameras, and den stuff that we're going to need too. But we started at the 8 o'clock one, and last night we also talked about it too. We lost an icon to the Bear Center, which was Ted. He was our 26-year-old bear. And it was a couple weeks ago that we lost him, and we decided that we'd dedicate Give to the Max to him because he worked so hard for the Bear Center and for people for years and was a heavy people pleaser.
Got his TED log up here with us.
And also, just the last hour, we decided we'd also have him join with a gal who loved Ted. We're going to dedicate it to Judy McClure, too, who is a big curator here for a long time. And Carolyn actually took over that position, and Judy helped train her. But we do miss Judy, and we really miss Ted. I'll tell you, that was a loss for us. But what we're going to have now is we're going to have a guest on here, and I bugged him again, second year, and he decided to maybe get a few spare moments and come and talk to everybody about some real interesting things. And we are excited to have Anthony here from the DNR.
Woo-hoo.
Again, second year, Anthony. And he's got that smile going. There he is.
That's
Anthony,
right.
thanks for coming.
Good to see you, Scott.
Yeah, and as we stand in the ecology hall, you probably feel somewhat at home.
I really like this room. This is a great room. You got the ducks flying behind us, and
can you name them ducks?
Oh, absolutely.
I'll bet you'd be pretty good at that. What are they?
We got a goldeneye up there. We got a bufflehead. We got a hooded merganser flying right at me here. So I feel. Oh, look at that Canada goose right above us. I do. I feel right at home.
Never see hardly any of those Canadians. I actually heard one yesterday.
They kind of earlier migrate.
Yeah.
They come through earlier, but
no, this is Anthony has been in this area for how many years now?
This is my 11th fall as a CEO in this area, and then you add on a couple of years of college back in the mid 2000s. I've been up here for 13 years now. So
13 years. He's got a family. He's got how many daughters?
3.
3 daughters, and you got a wife.
Yep.
A
great
wife.
wife.
That's a good thing.
Wife.
Yes, an excellent wife. But we're just thankful to have him on here, and we're going to talk about some things coming off of last year. We talked to you about the drought.
Yeah.
We were in a major drought.
Yes, yeah. Scott, last year we were talking about drought and fire and what a crazy year that was and how difficult it was on the wildlife. And we went from literally some of the lowest water levels, on record in this area, to by this past spring, some of the highest on record, flooding and just crazy high water. And the rain really continued through the summer. We had a lot of moisture. Water levels stayed up pretty nice. And really had some interesting, we were talking some, kind of interesting bounce back. The wild food, the natural food this year was amazing. Blueberries, we were talking about
Just,
blueberries.
just amazing. I never.
Yeah, I haven't
seen nothing like it.
I haven't seen blueberries like that, and the duration that they kept,
They were around for a while.
yes,
Yeah.
and
Big.
yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, considering wild blueberries, they were big.
I did a trip in the Boundary Waters. That's one of the neat parts about my station is I get to patrol in the Boundary Waters and do summer camping trips.
I would love that.
One of the neatest trips, and I'm getting a little bit off what I was going to say here, but I got to mention this. In September, the Alexandria conservation officer, he's a real good friend of mine. We went to the academy together. He comes up every year and we do a Boundary Waters trip, and they're fun, but it's work. We're out there patrolling and checking fishermen and boating laws and Boundary Waters laws and things like that. But his parents ended up buying a cabin halfway over on the Gunflint side, and we did a trip from one side from Lake One all the way across to Poplar Lake. Yeah.
Back. Nice.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and we had great weather for that. But anyway, I was going to say in August I did a trip, and some of that was through that old Pagami burn.
Yep.
And boy, there were some spots there that I have never seen blueberries like that. Some of those bushes were waist high, and the clusters of berries, I mean, literally you could just grab a whole handful off there. And they were huge. Yeah, it was.
I found a good patch this year. Oh my God!
Can you imagine a bear stripping one of those branches and that they had to work the year before forever to get up?
Right.
They're probably thinking, "Wow, this is definitely a sale."
You know what I mean? Yeah. And so great food year bear wise for sure.
Yes.
They had it made. I'm sure they woke up extremely hungry again in the spring.
Right.
And we had a lot of nuisance bear complaints and stuff right away in the spring, just because 2 really bad food years in a row. But then once the food started, those complaints dried right up, which is great. And I'm sure they packed down the pounds this year. Everything I saw looked healthy. There seemed to be a lot of bears around again, and I think I mentioned it last year, but I'm on the DNR bear committee for the state. So we look at populations and set the hunting quotas and look at the different rules and make sure everything is as it should be. But of course you get the droughts like we had the previous years, and your bear harvest is going to be higher. This year it was a lot lower, which is good because that's the point, right? That it maintains that balance, and we keep those bear numbers solid. So
it wasn't. I know that I had talked to one of the guides that's in Babbitt area, and although you folks watching out there may be going, oh boy, they're talking about hunting, but I'm going to tell you something. It is an important balance in the area, and believe it or not, it's even over baits. I've learned it's very hard to get a bear.
Yeah,
it's
and
hard. They're smart.
And what happens, in a year like this again, is there was so much natural food that they would maybe hit the baits, but then they weren't consistent. They didn't need the baits because there was so much natural food, and I saw a lot of scat this fall, and just full of different kinds of berries, mountain ash berries, and it just seemed like when one type of berry would dry up, there would be all kinds of new stuff for them to eat. So it did. It seemed like there was a little window where they were kind of hitting the baits, but then there was just plenty of natural food. So
what about complaints then? Last year with the drought.
Yeah.
More complaints. How that
we did, and like I said, when they came out of the dens, we had some complaints. There was some garbage. Yes, but then I don't think I had a complaint from June through the rest of the.
Right. That's good food.
Yeah. So that's very good.
And the thing is we talk to people, and we educate them here about how to, if you have a bear that comes to take your bird feeders down, do this, do that to help out. If they're hungry, they're just coming for food. They're food driven.
Absolutely.
Just like all the
Absolutely.
Are.
Yep.
I was telling Anthony about the deer. My wife enjoys feeding the deer, and we normally over the years have seen 13, 14 deer at the feeders consistently all year. And something with maybe I'm wrong, but something with the drought or the winter, we had a pretty hard winter.
We did. We had a hard, long winter last year. Yep, for sure.
And we're only seeing about 7, 8, sometimes 8. That's the most we've had at that feeder this time of year, and she keeps good track of it. She named some of them too.
But and
it's difficult for me.
And you probably should be seeing them now too, because you know I don't know if you mentioned this last session or whatever, but boy, we've been having
Holy mackerel, huh?
it snows every day, and you got your dog sled out yet?
No, we were just talking about that yesterday. We're thinking we can get on the dog sleds.
Yeah.
But the snow coming
Just
every
keeps
day.
coming.
We're getting
Yeah.
a couple inches, an inch or two.
Yeah.
I saw snowmobile tracks
You did?
yesterday. Yeah, out in the woods.
Are you
So
seeing them?
somebody,
I haven't yet, but I did hear down in Finland there's 2 feet of snow on the ground.
Yeah, down by
So-
Breckings. That's a dog musher family that's got I think they got 70 or 80 dogs, and they're on their sleds.
Sure.
2 feet of snow.
Yeah,
Lake effect.
it's crazy, but you're right that's hard on, you know, especially the deer. You know, it's hard on the wildlife to have, you know, these winters come early and get that deep snowpack and then stay late. Now, last year, you know, we had a great deal of snow, and it was pretty soft snow, which again is, you know, hard for the deer to move around, but it was great on the grouse. And
Oh
we
my gosh,
have
grouse population.
absolutely, since I've been here, by far the best
Yeah,
grouse
I would
population
agree.
I've seen. And you know, I last year was a good fall, which was kind of interesting with that drought. The chick survival seemed pretty good last year,
Yeah.
and then I think we had great carryover through the winter because they need that soft snow to be able to roost in and insulate, you know. And if it gets a hard crust, then when they dive down in that snow, they can break their neck. But last year we had a great winter for them, and now this year, like,
Can I stop you just for a second?
yeah,
Explain that, because a lot of people don't understand what he's talking about, and it's an amazing thing to watch.
yeah, rough grouse are very unique in this. They will start up in a tree, you know, they'll be feeding up there, eating buds and leaves and whatever, and they'll just bomb down just like a
Nosedive.
Yep, just nosedive, jet airplane down into the snow, and that snow just encloses over them.
House.
Yeah, they essentially just burrow down in there, but by burrowing, it's not a slow burrow; it's a right down in burrow. Yeah, it's a dive, and that snow, it just insulates around them.
Yep.
And then it also, you know, they're down in there, and that kind of confines their scent, so the predators aren't getting at them when they're underneath the snow.
Right.
And yeah, they pop out in and out like that, and that's kind of, I mean, they need that to survive. Obviously, not 100%, but if they have that most of the winter, that works out real well for them.
That's where that soft, not so crusty
Yeah.
is important.
Well, and I know the one year that I seen walking back on the trails behind my house, I seen quite a few feather piles, and we had gotten rain, and it had crusted over on the snow, and you could see there was one spot where I could see where one just smacked it, and obviously got eaten, but it obviously broke its neck. It's just like if they hit a window or something like that, they hit the snow like that, they're not expecting to hit ice.
Yeah, and I don't think one thing we kind of have unique up in this northeast portion, especially as you go east from here, is a good spruce grouse population.
Yes.
And this year's been the most spruce grouse I've seen too, and I don't think they do that dive bomb burrow in the snow, but boy, they had great survival too. So like I said, just kind of, it's been interesting because you get, you know, people in the fall moving around on these back forest roads hunting them and whatever, but all through the season, there's just been birds all over. It's crazy.
I go down the area I train dogs in, and there was one day where I think every 50 yards there was, and some are so smart that they'll just sit right there while we go by with the dogs.
Sure.
They won't even move, and I don't know if that's smart, but but it's just interesting to see so many, and they've been hunting them out there.
Yeah.
And there's still a lot of them.
Yeah.
It's like they just replenish.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Again, good carryover from last year, and then great chick survival because even, you know, as you get later in the grouse season, a lot of times you see more singles too. You know, the coveys break up. But I've been seeing lots of birds, you know, with 2 to 4 still. It's been
and it provides food for other animals to live.
Absolutely.
You know, the grouse do. I mean, you know, it's a food chain thing.
Yeah.
And it does help out. So, question for you that I just thought about, and you know, we had the big fire last year, and I'm having a moment here where I can't remember the name of it. But,
Greenwood.
Thank you. The Greenwood fire, and I drove by it a few times, some areas where you can see off the road. And have you been in there and seen recovery? How's it looking?
A little bit. Obviously it takes a little bit of time for some of that stuff to grow up. But I actually just saw a moose in that burn area,
okay,
which kind of surprised me that they would already be
Quick.
back in there, because it didn't seem like there was a lot of regen yet that they would be feeding on. But yeah.
So fires do have their advantages.
Oh, absolutely.
And they'll get a regrowth. It'll be all new buds and new growth that the moose can eat.
Yeah.
And they keep the birch and many of the trees trimmed.
Yeah, right.
Quite well.
Right. And we talked about moose a little bit last.
We did.
Yeah, it does seem like they're doing pretty well.
I found a last year on the dog sled. It was in January when they drop them. Around that paddle I found it. It's like Christmas.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad that nobody had a camera, because I had a grin from ear to ear. It took the whole sled bag, 28 pounds, and you found one too.
I did, actually. Yeah, that was in probably later March, and I was out on the snowmobile out in the Isabella area, and right on a forest road. Other people had ridden it, but it was that time of year when the sun was getting high, and it was very fresh, but I think probably had been snowed over, and people had run it over. But then the snow was kind of, that got on that dark and exposed just a little bit of it. And I ran it over, and I thought, there's no way that was a rock. That was a moose antler. And I turned around, and sure enough, I dug it out. And it wasn't huge like yours, but it was, a nice one. Probably would have been a 30-plus inch,
That's still
spread.
Paddle,
So, yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah, it was cool.
Finding one of those is, and I know there's a lot of paddle hunters up here that do an excellent job. But
in fact,
finding one's pretty good.
Yeah, right. For guys like me and you, if we stumble across one, well, that's neat. But yeah, just to piggyback off that, in that area that I had found mine, I know there are some guys that are really serious about looking for those in the spring, and I talked to a guy that found paddles from 4 different moose right in that same kind of clear cut. It's like trees this high now, so perfect browse for him. And he found paddles from 4 different moose, and then plus that one I found. So that's a lot of bull moose in one area.
Right. I got told how to try and find the second paddle, and I must have done something wrong, because I walked for hours in multiple days.
And I never went back and looked for mine. But I didn't.
It's difficult. The other thing I wanted to talk about is in the ecology hall here. When we were putting the ecology hall together a few years back, we were very fortunate to get a donation from the DNR brought us, Anthony and the crew brought us a loon.
Yeah.
And we've got a beautiful loon display, and it gets a lot of action.
Oh, a lot of attention.
People just love it, because it really shows the eye. It shows the bird was in perfect shape.
Yeah.
And we couldn't ask for anything better for a display for the state bird. But tell us what happened to that poor loon.
Yeah. That particular one, and this is not uncommon, unfortunately, and it's a good reminder that as, sportsmen and, folks that are out using the resource, that we need to really make sure that we're careful about what happens to our fishing line and our garbage and different things. So this one was caught up in fishing line.
Yeah.
And I've had, over the years, I've had a few different calls on loons, a couple different ones with fishing line, and sometimes they're just mobile enough where you just you can't catch them. There's nothing you can do. This particular one was wrapped up and was kind of in poor enough shape where we were able to get it and kind of, do some surgery. But I've had that successful where we've been able to cut everything out and be able to release them, and it seems like they go just fine. But this one, that wasn't the case. But it is too bad. But yeah, that is a neat,
beautiful display
to have here, because it's obviously loons aren't rare. You see them, you hear them, but to be able to see one close up like that it's a neat opportunity here. So
a lot of people never see them up close, or hear
or out of the water like that.
Yeah,
you see the whole body. You just see a little bit of that back and their head sticking up. It's nice, you can see the whole thing.
And they're a big bird, and they got a sharp beak, and that red eye.
Most people don't realize that they are not good on land.
No. And that's another. I'll quick tell you a story, because this was quite a few years ago now. But I had a guy calling me up, and it was, I believe this might have been springtime when the loons were coming back.
Yeah.
And, a lot of stuff was still iced up. So they're looking for open water. And we think this loon landed on a road, a gravel road,
Yeah.
like a strip, thinking that it was maybe like a river, because there just was not much for open water yet. And he called me up and he's like, man, this thing, and yeah, they're not good on land. And so I came, and it had kind of gone down into the ditch, and there was a little bit of water in there, but loons need like 100 yards
Right.
open to be able to, because they kind of paddle across before they get, lift.
Take off.
And so they need a significant stretch of open water. And this thing, when they're on land, they're done.
No kidding.
They're hosed.
So they can't get up in the air.
They can't.
Oh.
They absolutely can't. So, and they waddle. They're not
Yeah.
they're not good on their feet. So that one we caught with a fishing net, and then I kind of put another net over the top to hold it in there. And there was a river down the road that had a pretty good stretch of open water, so we got it down there, and away it went. It was fine. But yeah, the grounded loon.
It's kind of funny. I'm glad that you brought that story up, and I'll tell you why. There's many people out there that think that DNR is just totally about hunting and hunting regulations, which it's an important part of your job.
Right, absolutely.
And making sure that people are safe out there and they follow the laws and rules, that they're not just taking things just to take them. But you hear these stories about how he saves this loon, or he, they're able to do many different things to help the wildlife out there. That should show you the side of a DNR that we've got, that people don't always hear about. They think it's all just hunting. It's just this. No, it's conservation.
Yeah, right,
and it's,
right.
And it's preservation in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
You see somebody having a fire going when they're not supposed to, on a fire ban. I don't think that's probably real pretty.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And we have that stuff happens where people get a little bit careless on major fire ban areas and seasons, and they still burn, and they don't think nothing of it. And those things, they can cause major problems.
Right.
And you're there for so many reasons, and you're so appreciated.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, and that does bring up a good point. The wide array of the duties of a conservation officer, it makes for a very interesting job, and like you said, primarily we're out there. Our core mission is, to enforce the fish and game laws. That's obviously the main thing, but you bring the human factor into it, but then you also, we get a lot of wildlife calls, and a lot of first line, people come to me with a lot of questions because they know me, and they right, and they obviously we have a lot of divisions within the DNR,
right.
And everybody has their role, but we're the ones that are interacting, that people know, that we're out in the community, and so we get a lot of these questions and a lot of these calls, and I don't work a 8 to 4 job Monday through Friday, so even a lot of these issues that might potentially fall to another agency, and we help them out because I'm working weekends and got my phone on me all the time, and that's fine, because I enjoy this stuff. I'm an outdoorsman. I want to see the resource taken care of.
Yep.
And I also want to have good relations with the public, and I want people to be able to call me, and whether that be with a question so that they don't get on the wrong side of a violation. I'd rather somebody ask a question before, rather than me find them doing something wrong and they could have asked. But yet also, that people understand, okay, if I screw up, you're going to treat me reasonably, but you're going to do your job, because that's my job, So
it's like speeding at 15 miles above the speed limit and not expecting a ticket when they pull you over.
Right.
Once in a while they don't, but they'll certainly let you know that you shouldn't.
Yeah.
And that's good that we talked about that. It's really important, because there's so many times that you've got a different vision of a job or of a position, and to clarify some of that stuff is really neat, and hear the loon story. And there's many others, I'm sure. Many others.
Oh, yeah.
As he talked about, they try and save a loon. I think he mentioned the word surgery, which is kind of fun to hear. But what he's probably not meaning open heart on the loon or anything like that, but I'm sure what he's meaning is they're cutting stuff and doing stuff to get this line off or whatever it may be. I'm sure you've seen injured bears
Yep.
And you've seen injured deer and been called on that stuff, injured wildlife, period.
Right. And obviously, if we can help them, we do. And, but sometimes it's just, all right, this one's too far gone. Let's end the suffering humanely,
Exactly.
and that's a
And it hurts
good thing too,
sometimes.
right? But
no, we really thank Anthony for coming on, and we really thank the DNR for supporting the North American Bear Center and what we do here in the Ecology Hall area and the Bear area, and at the same time, all of us always coexisting together to enjoy each other. Ethics are important. I think ethics and how you carry yourself out are very important. In fact, it's extremely important. And we want to make sure that we maintain that here at the North American Bear Center. That's why you should donate to give to the max.
And what?
We care.
Obviously, these funds are specific to, this project you're working on back for the enclosure.
Yep.
But I would assume, and I guess I've never asked this question. Here I am, live on camera. But I would assume, like, being able to mount that loon for the display, that's probably coming through donations, I would assume.
You're assuming correctly.
And that's, so those are good things because, again, those, good educational pieces, tons of people from the public, are coming through here and looking at that stuff. And so, and I think didn't you guys have this past summer or something that you talked to me about and got a permit for? And
that was the
Merlin. Yeah.
And we are supposed to be bringing that to the Babbitt taxidermist here soon.
Yeah.
He's going to let us know, but and Anthony helped us find that gentleman too. So he also does that stuff. Poor guy. Gets bugged.
That's all right.
He also helps us out getting deer carcasses once in a while when we'll run across one.
Yeah.
For our cams, right?
The trail cams in the winter.
And it's Sean, right? Isn't it?
The other one.
The other.
One.
Yeah.
Both you guys have been here, and you brought in. Anthony also trains upcoming conservation officers, I'm guessing.
Yep. That's one of the, I guess, extra things I do is now that I'm experienced.
Yeah, and he brings them in here. He brought the last young person in here, real nice person.
Yeah.
And lets them see the Bear Center, lets them see our permitting stuff that we've got, because we do have permits on here that we have to have for aquariums, reptiles, amphibians, bears.
Yep. Yeah, to have the live bears in the enclosure, they get a DNR permit for that. So working through some of that stuff just to expose, a new officer to what kind of things they, because again, wide variety of duties, right? It's something that I don't deal with very often, but we have commercial licenses, like taxidermists and game farms and these different commercial licenses that we enforce the rules on too. So
and it's nice to know and build a relationship and friendship with all the agencies that we've got, and we're very lucky in this community to have you here.
Well, thank you.
And I know that's it's not an easy job sometimes.
Well, that's true. That's true.
We get the wildlife side of it that we get to enjoy, and you sometimes yours ain't all that way. But we thank you for coming and taking the time. And again, it's a state agency that here they are supporting us in one way or another. We always look forward to having you here.
Well,
maybe we can get you back next year and have another topic. Hopefully, it won't be I don't know. The really cold winter we had last year sure did help the spruce budworm population drop down considerably. But
yes, sometimes those cold, long winters they do take care of some problems too.
Yeah,
but that is an interesting point, Scott. Is that we talked about the deer maybe suffered a little bit, but then the grouse are doing good and the moose are doing good, and that's the balance of nature, right?
It is.
It just these things happen and things kind of even out, and
because that kind of helped the winter ticks too on the
right.
Yes.
Some things do better, some things do worse.
Right.
Because
I know a couple of bedding spots I've seen didn't have near the tick blood.
Right.
People think it's from racks, but the dark is not from racks.
Right.
And I learned that.
Yeah.
It's kind of but anyway,
You're getting her down.
I had to get it down to figure out where that other half of that panel was.
Right.
I wasn't successful, but it was fun learning.
Yeah.
You know,
You ever look for moose antlers?
I have been unsuccessful so far.
Okay.
I haven't been lucky enough.
Yeah, he'll find one sooner or later.
Yeah.
Gotta put in
Maybe.
more time.
Well,
I
if
always
we're-
tend to find them when I'm not looking for them.
Right.
Don't you?
Well, I don't look for them, so
Yeah.
that's the only time I found them.
Well, me too, pretty much.
I
Alrighty.
have too many other hobbies to go look for moose antlers. Anyway.
That's right. But we again we thank Anthony for coming on, and we will be back here at the top of the hour at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock?
And who's on our next crew? Do you know? It's
Me and Natasha.
it's Natasha and who? Sharon? Yeah, all right. And
Me and Natasha.
Spencer. Okay.
Spencer's back,
We
yeah.
thank you again, Anthony.
Yep, thank you
We really
guys.
do
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it,
me.
and,
Yeah.
Keep smiling.
Heck yeah.
You know,
All
and
right.
have fun. Okay.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks for tuning in.
Have a
folks.
great day.